He was born to rule an empire built on blood and silence. She walked away carrying the only thing he never knew he wanted. 2 5-year-old boys. His eyes. Her strength. A secret that could destroy everything. When a mafia heir cancels his arranged marriage and discovers the family he never knew existed, he'll have to choose between the throne he inherited and the love he abandoned. This is not a fairy tale. This is the story of a man who had everything, except the truth. Hello, everyone. I'm back with another Afro-Korean story that will stay with you long after it ends. Before we begin, please subscribe and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Your support means everything. Now, let's dive into this beautiful story. He didn't believe in fate until the day he saw her again. Jinwoo Park stood at the altar in a suit that cost more than most people's yearly salary, surrounded by 500 guests who came to witness duty, not love. The bride was beautiful, a strategic choice. The merger his father orchestrated before dying would secure the Park family's dominance over the East Coast operations for another generation. But when the officiant asked if anyone objected, Jinwoo heard his own voice. "I do." The room shattered into whispers. His mother's face went white. The bride's father stood, rage painting his features red. But Jinwoo was already walking down the aisle, past the shock, past the consequences, past the empire that would fracture because of this single choice. He didn't know why. He just knew he couldn't do it. 3 hours later, he sat alone in his penthouse, staring at the city he controlled through fear and money. His phone exploded with calls he didn't answer. His underboss sent 12 messages about damage control. His mother threatened to disown him. None of it mattered, because 5 years ago, he'd made a different mistake. He'd loved someone completely, then let his father's disapproval destroy it. Amara. Her name still tasted like regret. She was a graduate student working nights at a diner near Columbia. He'd walked in at 2 a.m. after a deal went wrong, blood on his knuckles hidden beneath his coat. She'd served him coffee and asked no questions, just looked at him like he was human. They had 6 months. 6 months where he pretended he wasn't who he was. 6 months where she made him believe he could be someone else. Then his father found out, threatened her family back in Nigeria. Jinwoo did what he thought was protection. He disappeared from her life without explanation, leaving only silence where love used to live. He told himself it was mercy. Now, standing at his window 32 floors above Manhattan, he wondered if he'd just been a coward. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. The text message contained 4 words and a photo. "They have your eyes." The image showed 2 boys, 5 years old maybe. Dark curls, bright smiles. And eyes. Unmistakably, his eyes. The same shade of deep brown that every Park man carried like a genetic signature. His heart stopped. Another message. Washington Heights, Riverside Park. Tomorrow, 3 p.m. Come alone. Jinwoo's hands shook. In his world, shaking hands got you killed. But nothing in his world had prepared him for this. He had sons, and he'd never known they existed. Amara saw him before he saw her. 5 years changed a man. Jinwoo looked harder now, sharper. The softness she'd once found in his rare smiles had been replaced by something colder. He wore darkness well, black coat, black suit, the kind of presence that made people step aside without knowing why. But when his eyes found hers across the playground, she saw the boy he used to be. Just for a second. Just long enough to hurt. The twins were on the swings, laughing at something only they understood. Elijah and Isaiah, her whole world in 2 small bodies. They had her strength and his features, a combination that turned heads everywhere they went. Jinwoo walked toward her slowly, like approaching something fragile, something that might disappear if he moved too fast. Amara. Her name and his voice still did things to her she hated. "You came alone?" She glanced past him, searching for the shadows that always followed men like him. "You asked me to." He stopped 3 feet away. Safe distance. Respectful. "Are they yours?" "Yes." She crossed her arms, armor against the way he looked at her. "They're 5. Born 7 months after you vanished." He flinched. "Good. Let him feel something." "You never told me. You never gave me the chance." Her voice stayed level. She'd practiced this. "You disappeared, Jinwoo. Changed your number. Moved. I went to your apartment and found strangers. I tried everything except the one thing I knew I shouldn't do. Walk into your family's world and put a target on my back. I was protecting you. By abandoning me while I was pregnant? By letting me raise our sons alone? She laughed bitter. Some protection. Elijah noticed them talking. He tugged Isaiah's sleeve, and both boys jumped off the swings, running toward her with the fearless energy of children who'd never known danger. Mama! Elijah crashed into her legs. Can we get ice cream? Isaiah, always more observant, stared at Jinwoo with open curiosity. Who's that? Amara's throat tightened. This moment. This impossible moment she'd rehearsed 1,000 ways and still wasn't ready for. Jinwoo knelt down, bringing himself to their eye level. His hands trembled slightly, the only sign of the earthquake happening inside him. Hi, he said softly. I'm a friend of your mom's. You look sad, Isaiah said, tilting his head. Are you okay? Something broke in Jinwoo's expression, just cracked right open. I am now, he whispered. Elijah, never one for heavy moments, grabbed Jinwoo's hand. You can come get ice cream with us. Mama always says yes when we ask twice. Elijah? Amara started. But Jinwoo was already standing, still holding her son's hand, looking at her with eyes that held 5 years of questions, and no right to answers. Can I? He asked. Please? It wasn't the crime lord asking. It was the man who just discovered he had children. The man who looked at his sons like they were the only thing in the world worth protecting. Amara exhaled slowly. One ice cream, she said. Then we talk. Really talk. Yay! Both boys cheered, already running toward the park exit. Jinwoo walked beside her, close enough that she could smell his cologne. Still the same after all these years. Thank you, he said quietly. Don't thank me yet. She kept her eyes forward. You don't know what this costs. I'll pay anything. That's what I'm afraid of. Because in her experience, when powerful men paid for things, someone always ended up bleeding. The ice cream shop was too bright, too cheerful for the conversation happening in careful whispers, while 2 5-year-olds devoured chocolate cones at the next table. Why now? Jinwoo asked. Why tell me after 5 years? Amara watched Elijah try to share his cone with Isaiah, her heart pulling in 2 directions. Because they're starting to ask questions I can't answer. Where's our dad? Why don't we have a father like other kids? I can handle a lot, Jinwoo, but I can't handle lying to them anymore. You should have told me from the beginning. And put them in your world? Her voice dropped to a harsh whisper. A world where people disappear? Where children become leverage? I've kept them safe for 5 years by keeping them hidden. From me. From everything you represent. He sat back, jaw tight. She knew that look. The one that meant he was calculating, strategizing. The businessman, the heir, the man who inherited an empire built on fear. What do you want? He asked finally. For you to know they exist. That's all. That's not all. His eyes narrowed. You want something or you wouldn't have risked this. She hated that he could still read her. I want you to set up a trust for them. Education. Security. If something happens to me, nothing will happen to you. You don't know that. She leaned forward. I work 2 jobs, Jinwoo. I'm 1 bad month away from losing our apartment. I've kept us safe by staying invisible. But invisible doesn't pay for college. It doesn't guarantee their future if I'm gone. His expression shifted. Something darker. More dangerous. You're struggling? His voice went quiet in that way that made grown men nervous. While I sit on millions, I made my choice. You shouldn't have had to choose. He pulled out his phone, fingers moving fast. Give me your bank account number. No. Amara. I don't want your guilt money. She grabbed his wrist, stopping him. The touch sent electricity through both of them. Old muscle memory. Dangerous muscle memory. I want a legal trust. Something that can't be traced back to you. Something that keeps them separate from your world, even if it provides for them. He stared at their connected hands. Neither pulled away. I want more than that, he said quietly. You can't have more. I want to know them, be in their lives. Jinwoo. They're my sons. His voice cracked. I missed 5 years. First words, first steps, everything. Don't ask me to just be a bank account. Amara pulled her hand back. This was the part she'd feared, the part where his presence became permanent, dangerous. Your world killed your father, she said bluntly. It's killed how many others? You think I'll let my babies anywhere near that? I'll protect them. That's what you said about me. Then you vanished. Direct hit. He absorbed it without flinching. I was 27 and stupid. I thought disappearing would keep you safe from my father's reach. He leaned closer. I'm 32 now. I run everything. No one threatens what's mine. Not anymore. They're not yours to claim. They have my blood, my name. They have my last name, she corrected. Thompson, not Park, and it stays that way. Elijah appeared at her elbow, chocolate smeared across his face. Mama, Isaiah said I can't have a dad because dads leave. That's not true, right? The heir left the room. Amara looked at her son, then at Jinwoo, whose face had gone completely still. Baby. But Isaiah was there too now, quieter, sadder. Tommy at school has a dad, and Marcus, and everyone. Why don't we? Jinwoo moved before Amara could stop him. He knelt in front of both boys, eye level again, and when he spoke, his voice carried the weight of every regret he'd ever swallowed. You do have a dad, he said, and he's sorry it took so long to find you. Amara's breath caught. Really? Elijah's eyes went wide. You're our dad? Jinwoo looked up at her, asking permission, begging for it. She should say no, should protect them from this, from him, from everything that came with his last name. But the hope in her son's faces. Yes, she whispered. He is. And just like that, the line she'd drawn for 5 years disappeared completely. The word dad changed everything. Jinwoo didn't sleep that night. He sat in his penthouse office surrounded by screens showing security feeds, financial reports, territory maps, the digital nervous system of an empire that suddenly felt meaningless compared to 2 5-year-old boys who'd looked at him with his own eyes and called him father. His underboss, Marcus Chen, stood by the window, arms crossed, wearing the expression of a man watching his boss lose his mind. You can't be serious, Marcus said for the 3rd time. I have sons. You have a target on your back, and everyone who knows about those kids becomes a liability. Marcus poured himself whiskey without asking. The Italians are already circling after you canceled the wedding. The Russians think you're weak. And now you want to parade 2 children around? You're signing their death warrants. Jinwoo's hand slammed the desk. Papers scattered, screens flickered. Watch your mouth. Marcus didn't flinch. They'd grown up together, back when Jinwoo's father was building the empire and Marcus's father was his right hand. Loyalty ran deeper than fear between them. I'm trying to keep you alive, Marcus said quieter. Keep them alive. You want to be a father? Fine. Do it from a distance. Set up the trust like she asked. Give them everything except your presence. No. Jinwoo, I said no. He stood, moving to the window that overlooked Manhattan. Somewhere out there, in a modest apartment in Washington Heights, his sons were sleeping. I've spent 5 years doing what's smart, what's strategic. I married my work. I became what my father wanted. And for what? An empire that means nothing if I die alone? Your father built this. My father built a cage. Jinwoo turned. And I've been living in it like it was freedom. But those boys, they're real. They're mine. And I won't abandon them again. Marcus exhaled slowly. Then we need a plan. Security, cover identities. A team watching them 24/7 without her knowing. She'll know. Then convince her to let us protect them. She won't. Then you're choosing between being a father and keeping them alive. Marcus set down his glass. Because the second our enemies find out about those kids, they become leverage. And leverage in our world means? I know what it means. Silence filled the space between them. Outside, the city hummed with a million lives that would never know the weight of a name like Park. There's another option, Marcus said carefully. I'm listening. You walk away from all of it. He gestured to the empire around them. Dismantle the organization. Retire. Become nobody. Just a man with a family. Jinwoo laughed bitterly. You don't retire from this life. Your father didn't, but you're not your father. The words hung in the air like a prophecy. I'll think about it, Jinwoo said finally. Think fast. The wedding fallout is spreading. We have 72 hours before someone makes a move. 3 days later, Jinwoo stood outside Amara's apartment building with a bag full of gifts he didn't know if he had the right to give. Books, educational toys, 2 small jackets because winter was coming and he'd noticed theirs looked worn. He'd been watching, not overtly, not dangerously. Just watching, learning their routines. The way Elijah walked with his whole body, animated and fearless. The way Isaiah held Amara's hand tighter in crowds, observant and protective already at 5. They were perfect, and they were his. Amara opened the door before he knocked. She'd known he was coming, probably saw him on the building's security camera. "You can't just show up," she said, but stepped aside to let him in anyway. The apartment was small, clean, filled with the organized chaos of children. Drawings on the fridge, toys in careful bins, 2 twin beds visible through a door left ajar. It smelled like home in a way his penthouse never had. "I brought... Gifts won't fix 5 years." "I know." He set the bag down. "But I didn't know what else to do." She softened slightly, just enough to let him see her exhaustion. She'd been working, he realized. Her scrubs were still on. She must have picked up a nursing shift. "They're asleep," she said. "You can see them for a minute, but we need to talk first." They sat at her small kitchen table, coffee cups between them like a demilitarized zone. "I hired a lawyer," she said. "He's drafting custody papers." Jinwoo's stomach dropped. "Amara, joint custody, legal, official." She held up a hand. "But with conditions. No introducing them to your business. No bringing them into your world. They know you're their father, but you're just a businessman. Legitimate. Clean." "I am legitimate." "Don't." Her eyes flashed. "I've done research, Jinwoo. I know what Park Enterprises really is. Import-export is code for things I don't want to imagine. Your father's obituary mentioned business competitors at his funeral. I'm not stupid. He wanted to lie. Should lie. But looking at her, at the woman who'd raised his children alone, who'd kept them safe from his world without asking for anything, he couldn't. "You're right," he said quietly. "About all of it." She exhaled like she'd been holding that breath for 5 years. "So here's the deal," she continued. "You can see them, be in their lives, but the second I think they're in danger, the second your world touches them, I disappear, and you'll never find us." "I'd find you?" "Maybe. But you'd lose them in the process." She leaned forward. "I've spent 5 years building a life where they're safe, invisible, normal. You want to be their father? You do it on my terms. In my world, or not at all." He should walk away. Marcus was right. His presence made them targets. But when he thought about never hearing them laugh again, never teaching them anything, never being more than a ghost in their lives, "Your terms," he agreed. Relief and fear warred across her face. "There's something else." "Tell me." "I got a call yesterday, from a blocked number." Her hands tightened around her cup. A man's voice. He said, "Tell Mr. Park his secrets aren't as hidden as he thinks. Beautiful boys. Would be a shame if something happened to them." The temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. Jinwoo's voice came out lethal. What exactly did he say? Just that. Then he hung up. She was trying to stay calm, but he could see the terror underneath. "Is this about the wedding? About you canceling?" "Probably." "Probably?" Her voice rose. "Jinwoo, someone threatened our children and you say probably?" "I say probably because I have 3 different enemies who might make this move." He pulled out his phone. "But they just made a mistake. They told me they know, which means I can act." "Act how?" He looked at her. Really looked at her. At the woman who'd stayed strong for 5 years without him, who'd built a fortress of normalcy around their sons with nothing but courage and will. "I'm going to protect you," he said. "All 3 of you. Whatever it takes." "I don't want your protection if it means..." "Amara." He reached across the table, covering her hand with his. "I failed you once. I won't fail them. Trust me. Please." She stared at their hands, at the connection that never quite died despite 5 years and 1,000 reasons why it should have. "One chance," she whispered. "You get 1 chance. And if anyone comes near my boys because of you, they won't." "How can you promise that?" His eyes met hers, cold, certain, completely void of mercy for anyone who dare threaten what was his. "Because I'll burn down everything I've built before I let anyone hurt them." And in that moment, she believed him. In the other room, Elijah stirred in his sleep, calling out for water. Amara started to stand, but Jinwoo was faster. "Can I?" he asked. She hesitated, then nodded. He walked into the boys' room, his first time seeing where they slept, where they dreamed, where they were safe. The walls had glow-in-the-dark stars, drawings they'd made, a bookshelf overflowing with stories. Elijah blinked up at him sleepily. "Dad?" The word nearly broke him. "Yeah, buddy, I'm here." He poured water from the cup on the nightstand. "Bad dream?" "Nuh-uh, good dream. We were flying." Elijah drank, then smiled. "You were there too." Jinwoo's throat tightened. "Yeah?" "Yeah, you had big wings." Like a superhero. His eyes drooped closed again. "Stay with us?" "Always," Jinwoo whispered. "I promise." He sat there for a long time, watching both boys sleep. Isaiah's hand had found Elijah's across the space between their beds. Even in sleep, they looked out for each other. When he finally returned to the kitchen, Amara was crying silently, shoulders shaking. "Hey." He knelt beside her chair. "What's wrong?" "Nothing. Everything." She wiped her face. "They've never had that. Someone to get them water, someone to sit with them. It's always just been me." "Not anymore." She looked at him with eyes that held 5 years of exhaustion and hope she was afraid to feel. "Don't make promises you can't keep." "I won't. And don't make me love you again." The words hung between them, honest, raw, dangerous. "What if I never stopped loving you?" he asked quietly. "Then we're both in trouble." His phone buzzed. "Marcus, emergency." Jinwoo stood reluctantly. "I have to go, but I'm putting a security team on your building. Invisible. You won't see them." "Jinwoo." "Non-negotiable. Someone threatened them. That ends now." He moved to the door, then turned back. "The trust will be ready tomorrow. 10 million to start. Education, security. Everything they need." "That's too much. It's not enough." His voice carried the weight of 5 years of absence. "I missed their first words, their first steps, every birthday, every nightmare, every moment. Money's all I can give for those years, so I'm giving it." She didn't argue, just nodded. As he reached the door, her voice stopped him. "Jinwoo, thank you. For the water, for staying with him." He smiled. Small. Real. That's what fathers do. Outside, the city was dark. His car waited with Marcus inside, expression grim. "We have a problem," Marcus said as Jinwoo slid into the back seat. "Tell me." "The Italians, they know about the kids, and they're calling a meeting. Tomorrow night." Marcus handed him a phone with a message displayed. "Discuss terms. Come alone, or the woman and children pay for your disrespect." Jinwoo read it twice, then smiled. The kind of smile that made men wish they'd never crossed him. "Good," he said softly. "I was hoping they'd make the first move." "This isn't good." "It is. Because now I don't have to hunt them." He handed back the phone. "Set up the meeting, but I'm not going alone." "That's suicide." "No, that's war. And if they want to threaten my family?" His eyes went ice cold. "Then they're about to learn why my father taught me to fight before he taught me to negotiate." Marcus stared at him. "You've changed." "No. I finally have something worth fighting for." The car pulled away from Amara's building where his sons slept safely, unaware that their father was about to go to war for them. Because that's what fathers do. They protect, whatever the cost. The meeting was set in neutral territory, an abandoned warehouse in Red Hook where the East River whispered against rotting piers and ghosts of old New York lingered in shadows. Jinwoo arrived with Marcus and 4 of his best men. Not an army. Just enough to show he wasn't afraid. The Italians were already there. Don Vittorio Castellano, old enough to have known Jinwoo's father, surrounded by soldiers who looked like they ate fear for breakfast. "Jinwoo Park." Vittorio's voice carried the gravel of 50 years smoking cigars. "The boy who walks away from weddings. Don Castellano." Jinwoo stopped 10 feet away. Respectful distance. "I came to talk." "You came because I told you to." Vittorio lit a cigarette, the flame briefly illuminating his weathered face. "You disrespected my niece. Made my family look weak in front of everyone who matters. And now I hear interesting things. About children. About a woman in Washington Heights." Jinwoo's expression never changed, but inside everything sharpened. I don't know what you've heard. Don't insult me with lies, boy. Vittorio exhaled smoke. Your father knew better than to lie to me. You should learn from his example. My father's dead. Because he forgot that respect keeps us all alive. Vittorio stepped forward. You want to cancel weddings? Fine. You want to pretend you're different from the rest of us? Fine. But you don't embarrass my blood and walk away clean. What do you want? Compensation. Double what the marriage merger would have brought me. Cash, delivered by end of the week. Vittorio smiled without warmth. Or those boys. What are their names? Elijah and Isaiah? They learn what happens when their father makes bad choices. The warehouse went silent. Marcus's hand moved toward his gun. Jinwoo's hand shot out, stopping him. You threaten my children? Jinwoo's voice dropped to something subterranean. My blood? I'm teaching you a lesson your father should have. Vittorio flicked ash. Everything you love can be taken. Everything you build can fall. You're not special because you run Park Enterprises now. You're just another man who bleeds. Jinwoo smiled then. Slow. Terrible. You're right, he said quietly. I do bleed. But you just made a mistake, Don Castellano. A mistake my father would never have made. What mistake? You told me what you love most. Jinwoo tilted his head. Your niece. Your family's honor. Respect. He took a step forward. So here's my counteroffer. You walk away from my children. You forget they exist. And I forget that your nephew Marco has been skimming from your operations for 6 months. I forget about the $3 million he's hidden in a Cayman account. I forget that he's planning to testify against you if the feds get close. Vittorio's face went stone. You're lying. Am I? Jinwoo pulled out his phone, showed him a screen. Bank statements, wire transfers, communications. I've had people watching Marco for a year. Insurance policy. My father taught me that. Always know your enemy's weaknesses before they know yours. The old Don stared at the evidence of his nephew's betrayal. Something ancient and furious moved behind his eyes. If this is true, it's true. And you can have all the files, every transaction, every plan he's made to sell you out. Jinwoo's voice went soft, deadly. In exchange, you never speak my son's names again. You never look in their direction. You pretend they don't exist. Because if anything happens to them, I won't come for you with guns, Don Castellano. I'll come for you with truth. I'll give the feds everything I have on your organization. Every crime, every body, every dirty deal my father witnessed and documented. You'd destroy yourself? I'd burn it all down, Jinwoo interrupted. The whole empire, yours, mine, everyone's. Because my father built this life, but I never asked for it. And if I have to choose between the throne and my children? He smiled. There's no choice. Vittorio studied him for a long moment, reading him, measuring the truth in his words. You really would do it, the old Don said slowly. Throw away everything. Try me. Another long silence. The river moved. The city breathed. History waited. Your father was a businessman, Vittorio said finally. But you? You're something he never was. What's that? Dangerous, because you don't care about keeping what you have. He ground out his cigarette. Fine. Your children are off limits, but you owe me, boy. Someday I'll collect. If it doesn't involve them, we'll talk. Vittorio gestured to his men. They melted back toward their cars. Before leaving, the old Don turned. One more thing. The woman. Amara Thompson. She's tougher than she looks. Had my people follow her? She made them in 2 days. Even lost them once. Something like respect crossed his face. Your father chose power. You chose her. Hope she's worth it. Then he was gone. Marcus exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for the entire conversation. That was insane, he said. You just threatened a Don with exposure. If he calls your bluff, it's not a bluff. I have everything documented. Scanned, stored in 3 separate locations with instructions to release if anything happens to me or my family. Jinwoo headed for his car. My father kept records of everything. He didn't trust anyone, not even his allies. And you're willing to use them? Bring down everyone? Jinwoo stopped, looked at his oldest friend. I walked away from a wedding that would have secured our power for a decade. I canceled alliances that took years to build. All because I realized something, Marcus. He smiled, but it wasn't happy. This empire? It's a cage that killed my father, killed his father. It'll kill me too if I let it. But those boys? They're freedom. They're a chance to be something other than what I inherited. So what do we do now? Now? I go tell their mother she was right about everything. Amara was waiting when he knocked. 3 a.m. She opened the door in pajamas, eyes alert despite the hour. What happened? She asked immediately. Can we talk? She let him in. They sat in the same spots as before, coffee brewing even though neither would probably drink it. I met with the people who threatened the boys, he said. Her face went pale. And? They won't touch them. I made sure of it. How? By threatening to burn down everything my father built. He said it simply, like discussing weather. I told them I'd destroy the entire organization before I'd let anyone hurt Elijah and Isaiah. She stared at him. You're serious. Completely. Jinwoo, that's suicide. That's fatherhood. He leaned forward. You were right. About my world being dangerous. About me being part of something that destroys everything it touches. But you were wrong about one thing. What? You thought I'd choose the Empire. His eyes held hers. I'm choosing them, every time, no matter what it costs. Tears welled in her eyes. She blinked them back, angry. Don't do this, she whispered. Do what? Make me believe you. Make me hope. Her voice cracked. I built walls, Jinwoo. Thick ones, for 5 years. And you're tearing them down, and I don't know if I can survive you leaving again. I'm not leaving. You say that now. Amara. He reached across the table, taking both her hands. I spent 5 years being what my father wanted, running his empire, making his choices, and I was empty, completely empty. Then I saw them, saw you, and suddenly everything made sense. This is what I'm supposed to protect. Not territory, not money, not power, just this. You three. We're not your redemption story. I know, but you're my second chance, and I won't waste it. She pulled her hands back, standing, pacing to the window. The city glittered below, millions of lights, millions of lives, none of them as complicated as this moment. I have conditions, she said finally. Name them. You want to be in their lives? Really be their father? Then you start therapy. You work on whatever trauma made you think disappearing was protection. You don't get to be broken around them. Done. You set up legitimate businesses, real ones, legal, so when they ask what you do, I'm not lying. I can do that. And you tell me the truth, always, about threats, about danger, about everything. No more protecting me by keeping me in the dark. Agreed. She turned to face him. And when, you realize this is too hard, that being a father to 2 boys you barely know is overwhelming, you don't just disappear. You tell me. We figure it out together. But you don't run. I won't run. Promise me, Jinwoo, on something that actually matters to you. He stood, crossing to her, close enough to see the flecks of gold in her brown eyes, close enough to remember exactly why he'd fallen in love with her 6 years ago. I promise on them, he said. On Elijah and Isaiah. I won't run. I won't disappear. I'll be the father they deserve, even if I have no idea how to do that. None of us do. We just figure it out. Then teach me. His voice went soft. Please. Teach me how to be what they need. She searched his face, looking for lies, for cracks, for the inevitable moment when this would all fall apart. But all she saw was a man who'd walked away from everything he'd ever known because 2 children existed that he'd never met. Okay, she whispered. But we go slow. They need stability, not a father who shows up 1 week and disappears the next. How slow? Dinners, twice a week to start. Here, you learn their routines, their favorites, how to braid hair. Braid hair? She almost smiled. Isaiah likes his braided sometimes. Elijah prefers it loose. You'll learn. I'll learn, he echoed. And no gifts. Not excessive ones. They need presents, not presents. Understood. And Jinwoo? She stepped closer. Dangerous proximity. Don't confuse co-parenting with us. With what we had. That's over. Is it? It has to be. Why? Because loving you almost destroyed me once. I won't survive it twice. He wanted to argue. Wanted to tell her that he'd spent 5 years half alive without her. That seeing her again had reminded him what breathing fully felt like. But she was right. This wasn't about them. Not yet. Maybe not ever. This was about two boys who deserved better than the broken pieces of their parents' past. Friends, then, he said. Parents. Partners in this. Friends. She offered her hand. He took it, shook formally, professionally, and tried to ignore how perfectly her hand still fit in his. I should go, he said. Let you sleep. Jinwoo? He turned at the door. Thank you, for protecting them, for meaning it. Always, he said. And walked out into the pre-dawn darkness, where Marcus waited with the car and 1,000 questions. So? Marcus asked. So we're going legitimate, all of it. I want lawyers finding every legal loophole to clean up Park Enterprises within 6 months. That's impossible. Make it possible. Because I just promised that woman I'd be better. And I don't break promises. Not anymore. Marcus studied him. You're really doing this. Walking away from everything. No. Jinwoo smiled. I'm walking toward something better. There's a difference. The car pulled away from Washington Heights, heading back toward Manhattan. But for the first time in 5 years, Jinwoo wasn't running toward power. He was running toward home, even if he didn't fully know what that meant yet. 6 months changed everything. Jinwoo learned that Elijah hated vegetables unless you hid them in pasta sauce. That Isaiah had nightmares about monsters but only wanted his mom to comfort him, until the 4th month, when he finally whispered "Dad" in the dark and let Jinwoo sit on the edge of his bed until sleep came. He learned that being a father meant showing up even when exhausted. Even when his legitimate business transformation meant 18-hour days restructuring everything his father built. Even when every instinct screamed to handle problems alone, he had to text Amara first. Running late. Traffic. Be there in 20. Small things. Ordinary things. Things that meant everything. The first dinner, he'd arrived with flowers and uncertainty. Elijah talked nonstop about dinosaurs. Isaiah watched him carefully, still deciding if this man could be trusted. Amara cooked chicken and rice, and Jinwoo realized he'd eaten in 5-star restaurants around the world, but never tasted anything as perfect as a meal made in her small kitchen. By the 3rd month, Elijah held his hand without being asked. By the 5th, Isaiah smiled when he walked through the door. And somewhere in between, Jinwoo stopped being the heir to a criminal empire and started being just Dad. Marcus handled the business transition. Lawyers worked miracles. Park Enterprises became legitimate. Import-export, yes, but real goods, legal channels, nothing that required looking over shoulders. Jinwoo sold off the darker operations, paid out soldiers, dissolved alliances that depended on fear rather than respect. Some people warned him he was making himself vulnerable. Weak. He didn't care anymore. Because on a random Tuesday in his 6th month of fatherhood, Isaiah brought a drawing to dinner. 2 stick figures, one small, one tall, holding hands under a bright yellow sun. That's us, Isaiah said shyly. You and me. Jinwoo kept that drawing in his wallet, right where his father used to keep cards from allies and enemies. Different priorities, different empire. The breakthrough came on a Saturday morning in October. Jinwoo had taken the boys to Central Park, Amara's idea, giving her a morning to herself. They were flying a kite, Elijah running wild while Isaiah held the string with intense concentration. Dad, look how high! Elijah shouted. I see it, buddy. Dad, I think the wind's changing, Isaiah observed, already problem-solving at 5 years old. Jinwoo knelt beside him. What do you think we should do? Move that way? Isaiah pointed. Good instinct. Let's try it. They ran together, the kite dancing above them, and for a moment Jinwoo forgot about everything except the sound of his sons laughing. When they finally collapsed on the grass, exhausted and happy, Elijah sprawled across his chest. Dad? Yeah? Are you gonna stay forever? The question stopped time. Jinwoo looked at both boys. Elijah's open hopefulness. Isaiah's careful guarding of his heart even as he leaned closer to hear the answer. Yes, Jinwoo said firmly. Forever. I promise. Even when we're bad? Especially then. Even when we're old, like 10? Jinwoo laughed. Even when you're 10 and 20 and 50, I'm your dad. That doesn't have an expiration date. Elijah considered this seriously. Mama said you left once. Jinwoo's chest tightened. I did. Before you were born. And it was the biggest mistake of my life. But you came back. I did. Isaiah spoke quietly. Will you leave Mama again? The real question, the one that mattered most. I love your mom, Jinwoo said carefully. I always have. But right now we're focusing on being your parents. Being friends. That's enough. But do you want to be more? Isaiah asked, too perceptive for 5. Yes, Jinwoo admitted. But only if she wants that too. And only when everyone's ready. Elijah sat up suddenly. I'm ready. I want you to live with us. Me too, Isaiah added softer. Hey. Jinwoo pulled them both close. That's between me and your mom. But no matter what happens with us, I'm always your dad. Always here. That part doesn't change. Understand? They nodded, though Elijah looked disappointed. Can we get ice cream? He asked, switching topics with the lightning speed of 5-year-olds. Nice try. Your mom said only healthy snacks. But you're the dad. You can say yes. Jinwoo grinned. Your mom is scarier than me. Ice cream's a no. Is not. Is too. I've seen her angry. Terrifying. Both boys giggled, and the serious moment passed into silliness. But Isaiah held his hand tighter, walking back to the car. And Jinwoo knew. They were his. Completely. Forever. That night, after the boys were asleep, Jinwoo and Amara sat on her small balcony overlooking the street. 6 months of twice-weekly dinners had built a rhythm between them. Comfortable, careful, charged with everything they weren't saying. They asked me today if I was staying forever, he said. She wrapped her hands around her tea mug. What did you say? Yes. Good answer. They also asked if I'd leave you again. Her breath caught. And? I told them the truth. That I love you, that I always have. But that what happens between us is separate from being their father. Jinwoo, let me finish. He turned to face her. 6 months ago, I walked away from everything I knew because 2 kids existed. But somewhere along the way, this stopped being about obligation, about making up for lost time. His voice dropped. I love them, Amara, completely. They're the best thing I've ever been part of creating. I know, I see it. But I also realized something else. He shifted closer. For 5 years, I told myself I let you go to protect you. But the truth? I was protecting myself. From having to choose between my father's approval and my own happiness. I took the coward's way out. You were young. I was old enough to fight for us, and I didn't. But I'm not that man anymore. His hand covered hers. The Empire's legitimate now. The threats are gone. I've built something clean, boring even. Import-export, tech investments, real estate, nothing that requires hiding. That's good. It's not enough. He squeezed her hand gently. Amara, I want more than twice-weekly dinners. I want mornings. I want bedtimes. I want the ordinary, boring, beautiful life you've built. With you. With them. If you'll let me. She pulled her hand back, standing, moving to the balcony rail. The city lights blurred through sudden tears. You broke me, she whispered. When you left, I was pregnant and alone and terrified, and you just vanished. Like I meant nothing. I know, and I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix 5 years, Jinwoo. You're right. It doesn't. He stood beside her, not touching, just present. But maybe the next 5 years could, and the 5 after that, and every year until we're old and gray and the boys are bringing our grandchildren to visit. She laughed through tears. You're assuming a lot. I'm hoping a lot. He smiled. You taught me that, hope. The boys taught me joy. And together you've all taught me that the empire I thought I needed, it was never real. This is real. You 3. This life. And I want it. All of it. The chaos. The normalcy. The ordinary magic of being a family. What if I can't trust you again? Then we build trust. Slowly. One day at a time. He finally touched her. Just his hand on her shoulder. I'm not going anywhere, Amara. Whether you give me another chance or not, I'm here. For them, for you, for as long as it takes. She turned, looking up at him, searching for the cracks. The inevitable moment of failure. But she only saw the man who'd learned to braid hair, who kept drawings in his wallet, who'd chosen them over everything. One condition, she said. Anything. You propose properly, with a ring, and romance, and you ask the boys first if it's okay. She smiled through tears. Because this family makes decisions together now. His heart stopped. You're saying yes? I'm saying maybe, if you do it right. He pulled her close, and she let him. Let herself remember how perfectly she fit against his chest, how his heartbeat sounded like home. I'll do it right, he promised. I'll do everything right this time. You better. Because if you hurt them, hurt us, again. I won't. Never again. He kissed her forehead, soft, reverent. You're my empire now, all of you, and I protect what's mine. She looked up at him. We're not possessions. No, you're better. You're my choice. Every single day. I choose this. I choose you. I choose them. I choose the life we're building. And when he kissed her, really kissed her for the first time in 6 years, it tasted like second chances and new beginnings and everything worth fighting for. Inside, one of the boys stirred, called out for water. They broke apart, smiling. I'll go, Jinwoo said. We'll both go, Amara corrected. And they did. Together. Like they'd do everything from now on. Because Jinwoo Park had inherited an empire built on fear and blood and power. But he'd built a better one. One made of love and laughter and ordinary moments. One where the only legacy that mattered was the family he'd fight the world to keep. And in the end, that was the only empire worth having.